Vault Hunters version 15 introduced cards. Cards that alters and modifies and buffs in every single way the player. The way it works is you find cards when completing vaults. They only exist in completion crates and in black markets. And you get these booster packs. They're a different color. They're different types of card. This is a stat booster pack. I've got a mixed booster pack here, and I've got an evolution booster pack. There are also wild cards, arcane cards, and temporal cards. And every single card type is different and do something different. Let's start by looking at a stat card. So I open the stat booster pack, and in this pack we got an attack damage card, which adds 1 attack damage. Doesn't sound much to begin with. We have a mining speed card, which adds 2 mining speed, and we have an attack speed card, which increases your attack speed. Now, let me take the mining speed card here. And then what I need is a deck. Now, you can find decks in completion crates, or you can find them elsewhere in the vault, and every deck is different, but you can also craft the starter deck. This is how you get started at level 50 when this unlocks. And the starter deck is tiny. When opening it up, it's a 3x3. And if I now take my mining speed card and put it in here, I get +2 mining speed. And then what I do is I go and equip this deck, and boom. I've now basically equipped an item that gives me, just like any other vault gear, a tiny stat. In this case, +2 mining speed. And, simple enough, there are a bunch of different cards to collect. They can also be foil. And most statistics, most attributes in Vault Hunters are covered. So if I grab a bunch of these other stat cards here, let's grab a mana card, let's grab a movement speed card, and whatever else, a cooldown card. I can continue to build my deck, and I can put these in. And slowly but surely, as you can see, my deck is now providing me with a bunch of stuff. Cooldown reduction, movement speed, mana, increased damage, mining speed, and attack damage. That's cool, and that's fun. Now, you can also take these cards and upgrade them. And you do that using this thing, the juicer. There are 2 card types that can be upgraded. It's stat cards and evolution cards. We'll look at evolution cards in a little bit. It requires 10 essence to upgrade. So, just for the purpose of showing this, I'm going to get some more essence. And the way I get essence is by smelting down other cards. So I put them in here, and they get juiced in this mixer, in this blender. And once I hit 10 here, I can put this card in here, and now I can upgrade it. And when I upgrade it, it gets a higher value. So now this is a 4 mining speed card. And so if I put it back in the deck, now it does 4 mining speed. This is, of course, important. It might be small numbers, but it's important because the space of the deck is limited. Now, granted, you can, as I said, find bigger decks as you play the game. In total, currently there are about 10 or 12 decks. There will be more decks in the future. I think this is the biggest secondary deck I have that's empty. This is the lost deck. And here you can see that the layout of the deck is also different. It's not just straight up one layout. This has a, what I would describe as a whale looking thing. It's a whale deck. And yeah, there are a bunch of different ones, like the double deck, for example, that looks like this. And this is important when we get to the more advanced cards. We've only just looked at stat cards. If I now open my evolution booster pack, these cards, while they have a similar icon, does something different. If we take a look at this cooldown reduction card, and this is actually a quite good one, this gives you 0.2% cooldown reduction for every red card on its row. This is where it gets interesting. This one gives you 0.2% movement speed for every blue card on its row. And this card is actually insane, and I'm going to take it. Yeah, I am 100%. Look at this card, guys. This is insane. So now, if I go into my little starter deck and I place this here and hold control, I can see that I'm getting affected by the card itself because it's blue and on its row. And also I'm getting a bonus from this card because that's also blue and on the same row. So instead of getting 0.2% movement speed, I'm getting 0.4% movement speed. Now, of course, like, expand on this and use a better deck. And you can see that the possibilities that I can get in this deck, if I grab some more cards here from my collection, some more blue cards specifically, you can see that very, very quickly I can build up movement speed from this card. Now it's 1.4% as displayed over here. 1.4% is what it's giving me. This is a very, very good card. And now if I go ahead and upgrade this card, it is going to do 0.4% movement speed per other card. Upgrades, of course, they increase in cost a lot. So the first one is 10 cards that I need to put into it. I need to juice 10 cards to upgrade to level 2. The second level is 40 cards. Then I think it's 80 cards, and then it's something like 200 cards. It's a lot if you want to maximize a card. But yeah, that's basically a basic look into how cards work. I did say that there are other cards as well, and there are. You have your arcane cards, which targets abilities. And so this card here gives +1 level to fire volley if there are at most 2 adjacent cards. So this card cannot have more than 2 cards next to it. And you can see right now, I get 1 level in fire volley. It only has 1 card next to it. And so that works fine. There are a bunch of different criteria. So this one here requires 8 yellow stat cards at the very least. Otherwise, it won't do anything. There are wild cards to support this. And wild cards like this one here acts as a blue, red, green card of every type. So if I put this on this row, it is going to count towards my movement speed because it is a blue card on this row. Now, as I said, this evolution card is actually really, really good. Let's take a look at something that's a bit worse. This one triggers for every yellow diagonal card. So, of course, the game becomes to like meet all of these criteria. So if I get some yellow cards going here, like this, and then put them on the diagonal off of this card, you can see that now I'm getting more attack damage, increased attack damage here on the side. And yeah, now I'm affecting all of these 3 cards. While this one says for each resource card on the row, and I don't actually have any resource card here, but because I have a wild card that counts as a resource card, it works. And speaking about resource cards are for many people the favorites because many people are looting enjoyers. Yes, they are, and so they should be. Resource cards is another card type that basically awards you bonus loot depending on what the card says as a criteria. So let's take a look at this silver card here. This thing gives me 1 silver per every 19 mobs I kill inside a vault. And it does so in the completion crate. So I also have to complete the vault. Now, if I place this here, you can see that this item rarity card is liking that because it's a resource card. I can also place it here. And it's still... no, wait. What is it? Adjacent? No, it's row. Okay, so I need to have it on the row. Yeah. But now I have a problem, right? Because now this is not triggering the yellow cards. So now I need to realign the rest of the things to make sure that it triggers the other cards. So this is the inventory management game, basically. And you can build resource decks to be pretty interesting. Here's an example of my resource deck. This deck gives me +6 vault plating per every 12 horde mobs, +7 per every 16 mobs, and that stacks, by the way. And yeah, you can see a bunch of different things that I get with different criteria, and you can do it over and over and over and over again inside that vault. So your completion crate gets completely filled up with these things. And this is only stage 1 of the cards. As I said, we have a lot more decks coming in the next update, a lot more ways of getting decks. Decks themselves needs to have a way to be refurbished or somehow maybe you can juice them in the juicer for like the value of 3, something like this. We haven't fully decided yet. There will also be special decks that you can find. Not only do the shape inside the deck change, as I showed here, there are many different shapes already. They also will be in the future having modified slots. So an example of that is, let's say that this slot here says a card in this slot is double as effective. Or, as you can see here, we have foil cards, which we haven't spoken about. A deck may have an overall modifier that says that foil cards in this deck are 10% more effective. And what's 10%? Well, for some of the stats it's easy. It would be 0.22% increased attack damage. And for some other things like resource cards, it's not as easy. So maybe it says foil evolution cards in this deck are 20% more effective. So yeah, the deck modifiers are not in yet. They are coming, and the slot modifiers are not in yet. They're also coming in addition to the idea of having many different type of shapes and decks, more than we have already. I'm super excited about this. It's only just like the first version of it right now. There are like the arcane cards specifically, as I showed, they have sort of got like criteria that you have to meet in order for them to work at all. And that can also be on the opposite side. So it can say like, okay, if you use this card, you need, yeah, like this card, you need to have between 2 to 6 resource cards. you can't go above 6 resource cards, and you can't go below 2 resource cards. And a lot of these criteria, because Arcane cards are probably the strongest cards in the game at the moment, a lot of those cards are of course going to require you to think and craft and modify your deck and do it in a way where it suits you and works well for you. But yeah, there it is. Card system in Vault Hunters. It's really fun. It's a long-term thing. It's something that takes time to do. I think it's absolutely awesome. I love it. I'm a big enjoyer. And in this demonstration, Dylan, we got an absolutely insane card in this Evolving Movement Speed card, which actually is going to be hard to fit in my current deck. Our current deck that we've been working on for the past week or so is this deck here, where we're actually quite like filled up at the moment. But there are always things that you can do. You can always find ways of making it work. I have this one here, which is an upgraded version. It's red row card. This is blue, and the card itself is blue, which is good, right? So I could, for example, slot this in. You can see I have a bunch of tier 2 cards here, though. And this row requires green cards and stat cards, so it's not great to slot in here. What about here? Like if I take this out and put this in here, yeah, it does affect a few cards. But maybe there was a reason. Yeah, this was the reason I had a stat card up there, because this gives me CDR. So there are a lot of choices. A lot of micromanaging. I think it's awesome. And that's Vault Hunter's card system.